center.
Was it the kind of bubble car?
Well, the door open in the front.
Yep.
And we always have contests how many kids we could cram into it. Wow, we actually had 17 people, 1 mile. It was hanging off all sides. But have you looked at that? That's one question. The second question is, I work for Talgo, which is a high-speed train company out of Madrid.
I thought I recognized you from something.
I just wondered if you have any comments about, the trains are full between Eugene and Vancouver, and I just wondered if you had any comments on how trains fit into all this.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we have not done, we haven't yet put 17 people in Arcimoto. Although I took it to a local community event, and this whole just posse of kids were like climbing all over it and stuff. It was fun. So we did look at the bubble car at the Isetta. The sort of where I've seen the development of the platform go is that when you look at the three-wheel vehicle in particular, and as it relates specifically to safety, to rollover stability and everything like that, there are a lot of wrong ways to do it, and there are very few right ways to do it. I believe that the Isetta was a side-by-side rear-wheel drive three-wheeler. So we had built several rear-wheel drive prototypes in our early iterations, and it was actually coming up to Seattle that prompted us to make the switch to front-wheel drive, because people at the auto show said, we've got steep hills, we've got slick roads, how's this thing going to do, in Seattle in the wintertime? And we just...
No worse than any other car.
Well, we wanted something that was going to be better than or equivalent to cars on the road. And so the switch to front-wheel drive is what actually gave us a better than traditional passenger car experience in terms of traction and steering control, right? You have 70% of the weight of the vehicle on your primary wheels. As far as the second question, in terms of how does it interface with trains, I think that I could just imagine, I rolled into Seattle last night on the train, if there were a bank of vehicles there that I could swipe a card, jump in, and go, no question. So I think as the last mile solution for train, as the last mile solution for transit, particularly the self-driving version, but even just having a bank of low-cost vehicles that you can check out kind of zip car style would be a huge win.
My wife has a German Scorpion Road. I tried because she can't ride upright, and it's 2 wheels in the front, and 1 wheel underneath, and you steer like this. It reminded me of
nice.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it was actually, I think that Jan was asking me sort of where did all this stuff come from? What was we were talking about science fiction and sort of how we're now living in the time where science fiction is becoming a reality across a whole range of things. And it was, I watched Knight Rider as a kid, so the self-driving car came from, and then I rode a recumbent bike for a while, and I saw all these recumbent bikes, and I was like, wow, it's a bicycle that's not going to fall over. It's great.
I'd like to hear you guys speak to infrastructure. It seems like right now EV charging, at least for the near term, is taking place at home. And in this world of shared cars and car banks, who's going to supply the fuel, the electricity? Who's going to pay for it? How's that system going?
So, is there any opinions on that one? I would say, I think to your point, at home is where for at least the next decade we're going to plug in, right? You, like your cell phone, plug it in when you get home. Every morning you've got a full charge. Same thing. You plug it in when you get home. Every morning you've got a full tank. When it comes to a system like this, if the car is being driven by a robot, you don't want to outfit it with a mechanical arm to plug in the cord. You want some kind of inductive charging experience. So you roll up, it knows when it's getting low. It rolls up onto a pad. It charges itself back up, and I would imagine just be folded into your per mile. You're charged sort of what power you consume plus the vehicle depreciation plus the premium for whoever owns it, whether you own it or whether you're an owner of a portion of the fleet or whatever. I think that the ownership model has yet to be determined. But it's the one change where I think you go for, it's sort of a zero sharing scenario, and that argues for more collective ownership of the asset.
You need to say rich people are going to pay for it.
Well, I think rich people are going to pay for it, and they're going to make a lot of money for it.
Yeah, I'd like to hear you all address this question. So, I mean, when we hear, the story of driving one of these vehicles, everybody raves about it, and there's a great intellectual efficiency argument. I mean, on and on and on. And yet this morning in the Seattle Times, the front page story of the business section is about the Think City Motor Company, which is closing down in Indiana after a lot of money put into it. What's going on here in your opinion, and what is the transition point to make this stuff work? Or is that just an isolated story?
I read that with some sadness as well, because I think if we don't get things, and I'm happy you're close to market, I think one of our problems is we can't get things to market fast enough to get people to move, using your term, move the needle and get some use of these things in early. I mean, that's just something they should have figured out, got those out for people in their neighborhoods using the thing, get people used to it. A lot of the things in my life, like I said, I'm almost 60, a lot of things, your neighbor or someone you know would get it, and you sniff around it, and I'm not doing that, and pretty soon you get awareness, and then you give it a chance, and then you try it, and kind of the funnel, the sales funnel, the branding funnel. And I think if society can't get stuff fast enough, they die. If you get this cute thing out, and you get enough people, like my wife, would get rid of the sign and do that in a heartbeat. And just because, for the reasons you're talking about. And I think if you get enough people to do that, you get a chance to go to the next, that sort of.
Yeah, well, and I think to think in particular, yeah, and I actually went out to Indiana and I visited the battery company that was building the batteries for Think. And
they were an investor.
They were an investor in the company, yeah. and lost their huge stake in it. The CEO of the battery company said, it's the vehicle. The Think was $15,000 worth of fun. It wasn't $40,000 worth of fun. And the real challenge with the electric vehicle landscape, and I kind of mentioned it briefly in the presentation, is that that full-size electric car power-to-weight ratio and really power-to-cost ratio, the math doesn't work, right? It doesn't work. It barely works for Nissan. Maybe it kind of almost works for GM with a heavy government subsidy. But where it does work is when you get it down below, and we did this, we just did a bunch of consumer pricing research, and we said, how much would you pay for this set of capabilities? And we could take away capabilities to a large degree, but the price sensitivity just fell off a cliff at $20,000. So, I think the real challenge for whether you're talking about Think, Aptera, Vectrix, there's a whole slew of, really the vehicle company landscape is a graveyard of startups, especially in the EV space. And it's that they're creating a product for which there is no market at the price point that they're landing. For us, that has meant keep it as absolutely simple as we possibly can. We've got a roll cage, some wheels, some low-cost batteries, DC motor and controller on the low end until the cost of the powertrain comes down on an induction solution. And it's just, how can we take, it was really more about how can we take the level of technology that's in a golf car and build it into a product that's appropriate for the road. And I think that's really been the thesis of the company all along, is how do we get to the end and have something that actually makes sense.
Do you agree with that, Chris?
Is there a compartment for like one bedroom battery? I mean, it can be an air.
There are all kinds of upgrades that are available.
I'm glad you brought that up because, not that this is a deal killer, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Seattle City Light is going to increase rates 10% a year for the next 4 years.
Or four.
But it's going to keep getting more expensive. And even, in certain parts of town, especially in some of the industrial areas, it's hard to get enough, electrical transformers to actually build factories and supply the people who are growing. So, but what I like here, or what I like that you're saying is that we've got an alternative, I think called an inductive, the battery, a different approach. So that instead of having to plug it in at home, a way to recharge itself,